At 9:14 in the morning, 8 missile contacts leave the Iranian coastline simultaneously, and the USS Gerald Ford's SPY-6 radar picks them up in the same second. 8 contacts, 8 identical radar returns. Same speed, same altitude, same trajectory, same radar cross-section. The Aegis combat system begins building intercept solutions immediately. 8 threats, 8 fire control problems, 8 countdowns running at once. In the Gerald Ford's electronic warfare suite, Lieutenant Rachel Webb looks at the launch signatures on her passive infrared sensors and notices something that takes her exactly 3 seconds to process. 7 of those contacts look identical. The 8th looks almost identical. She writes down the difference and keeps watching. To understand what Iran fired at the Gerald Ford that morning, you need to understand what a missile decoy program actually does. Because 7 of those 8 contacts are not missiles. They are sophisticated decoys, radar identical to the real weapon. Same size, same speed, same flight profile, same radar return, specifically engineered to be indistinguishable from the one contact among them that is carrying a warhead. And the warhead on that one real missile is not a standard payload. It is a Khorramshahr variant, a 1,500-kilogram unitary warhead designed to penetrate the layered armor of large warships before detonating. A warhead so large that detonating against the Gerald Ford's flight deck would not damage the carrier. It would end her. Iran had designed this attack around one specific insight. The Aegis fire control computer assigns intercept probability based on radar data. If 8 contacts are radar identical, the system has no basis to prioritize one over the others. It fires interceptors at the geometrically most favorable contacts, which may or may not be the real missile. Every interceptor that destroys a decoy is wasted. Every wasted interceptor brings the magazine closer to 0. And the real missile gets closer with every failed intercept attempt. Iran had not designed 8 missiles to hit the Gerald Ford. Iran had designed 7 missiles to make the Aegis system guess wrong until it ran out of answers. The 8th missile was the weapon. The other 7 were the question. How many interceptors does it take before you run out? Tactical Action Officer Lieutenant Commander Hassan authorized the first SM-6 at 9:16. 2 minutes after the contacts appeared. The fire control solution was clean, geometrically favorable, high intercept probability. The SM-6 reached its assigned contact at 9:17 and detonated against the airframe. The debris signature was identical to a destroyed missile. No warhead detonation, no secondary explosion, a decoy. The second SM-6 launched on the next highest priority contact at 9:17. Same result. Clean intercept. No warhead detonation. Another decoy. The third found another decoy. The fourth found another. 8 contacts became 7. Then 6. Then 5. Each destroyed contact, revealing nothing about which of the survivors was real. The Aegis system was shooting in the dark, and the magazine was bleeding out with every shot. Webb had been watching Contact 6 since 9:14 and 51 seconds. The thermal emission signature, the specific chemical compounds in the exhaust plume generated by the missile's propellant, was slightly different from the other 7. Not dramatically different. A difference measurable only on passive infrared sensors at close range. A difference that existed because a decoy missile uses a lighter propellant mixture than a missile carrying a 1,500-kilogram warhead. The payload mass changes the propellant requirements. The propellant change alters the exhaust signature by 0.3%. 0.3% was enough for Webb to see it. She picked up the circuit to the Combat Information Center at 9:19. She told the Tactical Action Officer that Contact 6 had a different thermal emission signature from the other 7. She told him the difference was consistent with a heavier propellant load, consistent with a missile carrying a significantly larger payload than the others. She told him Contact 6 was the real missile. He looked at his display. 5 contacts remaining. Intercept solutions running. 4 decoys already confirmed and destroyed. The engagement was running exactly as the Aegis system was designed to run it. Methodically, efficiently, working through the threat list. He told Webb her assessment had been logged and asked her to stand by. Webb closed the circuit and kept watching Contact 6. The 5th SM-6 destroyed Contact 2 at 9:21, another decoy. The 6th destroyed Contact 8, another decoy. 4 contacts remaining. Interceptors at 40%. Contact 6 still descending, still showing that 0.3% thermal signature difference that nobody above Webb was looking at. She got back on the circuit at 9:22. She told him she was more certain now. The thermal signature difference on Contact 6 was becoming more pronounced as the missile descended into denser atmosphere. The propellant combustion characteristics changing with air density in a way consistent with a heavier payload. She told him the Aegis system was going to run out of interceptors before it ran out of contacts. She told him they needed to reprioritize Contact 6 right now. He looked at his interceptor count dropping, 4 contacts inbound, the engagement running, and told Webb he had noted her assessment and would escalate it to Rear Admiral Mercer. Webb closed the circuit, looked at her display. Contact 6 descending through 40,000 feet. 3 minutes and 22 seconds to impact. Rear Admiral David Mercer received Webb's assessment at 9:23. He looked at the 4 remaining contacts on his tactical display. He looked at the interceptor count. He looked at Webb's rank, Lieutenant Junior grade, and her thermal signature analysis from passive infrared sensors on a contact that the Aegis system had assigned the same intercept probability as the other 3. He told the tactical action officer to proceed with standard engagement protocol. The 7th SM-6 destroyed Contact 4 at 9:24. Decoy. The 8th destroyed Contact 1. Decoy. 2 contacts remaining. Interceptors at 12%. Contact 6 still descending. Webb was not arguing anymore. She was building something. The 2 FA-18Fs flying combat air patrol at 28,000 feet above the formation carried ATFL-IR targeting pods, advanced forward-looking infrared systems capable of detecting thermal signature differences at ranges exceeding 10 miles. If the pilots could get close enough to Contacts 6 and 7 to run a comparative thermal analysis, the signature difference Webb had identified on her passive sensors would be visible and unmistakable at that range. She transmitted the thermal signature data for both remaining contacts to the lead pilot, Lieutenant Commander Marcus Cole, at 9:25. She told him what to look for. She told him which contact she believed was real. She told him she needed a visual confirmation. Cole had been listening to the engagement circuit since 9:14. He had heard Webb's reports. He had heard the tactical action officer tell her to stand by twice. He looked at the thermal data she had just transmitted and understood immediately what she was asking. He took his F/A-18F to maximum power at 9:25 and began an intercept course toward contacts 6 and 7. The last 2 SM-6s launched at 9:26, one on contact 7, one on contact 3, which had reappeared on the display. Both found their targets. Both detonated cleanly. Both decoys. Magazine at 0. 2 contacts remaining. Contact 6 and Contact 5. No interceptors. The Phalanx close-in weapon system activating as the contacts entered its engagement envelope. 2 simultaneous near-vertical contacts from slightly different angles. The Phalanx could stop one. The other would hit the Gerald Ford. And nobody knew which one was carrying 1,500 kilograms of high explosive. Rear Admiral Mercer picked up the all-hands circuit at 9:27. All hands brace for impact. Webb heard the words and kept working. Cole reached intercept range on both contacts at 9:27. His ATFL-IR pod locked onto Contact 6 first. The thermal plume was visible at 8 miles, and the signature difference Webb had described was not 0.3% at this range. It was unmistakable. Contact 6 was burning a propellant load 3 times heavier than Contact 5. The exhaust plume was wider, hotter, chemically distinct. A missile carrying a 1,500-kilogram warhead, burning everything it had to reach the Gerald Ford's flight deck. Cole transmitted at 9:27. Contact 6 confirmed real. Contact 5 is a decoy. Phalanx on Contact 6. Now. The Phalanx fire control system reprioritized in 0.4 seconds. It abandoned its engagement solution on Contact 5 and redirected every available round toward Contact 6. A focused burst. All available firepower concentrated on one confirmed target at 340 meters from the Gerald Ford's flight deck. The rounds reached Contact 6 at 9:28. The Phalanx fired for 0.6 seconds and put 45 rounds through the missile's guidance section and forward airframe. The Khorramshahr variant lost controlled flight. It tumbled. Its terminal guidance system attempted to correct and found nothing to correct with. It impacted the Arabian Sea 290 meters off the Gerald Ford's starboard bow at 9:28. The 1,500-kilogram warhead detonated on water impact. The explosion was the largest the formation had witnessed since the war began. The water column rose 380 feet above the surface, higher than the Gerald Ford's island superstructure. The pressure wave traveled outward through the water and hit the carrier's hull with enough force to throw crew members off their feet in compartments 400 meters from the impact point. Every loose object on the ship moved simultaneously. The flight deck flexed. 2 compartments lost power from the surge. Contact 5 impacted the ocean 180 meters off the port bow without detonating. Debris from the decoy's airframe scattered across the water. Nothing touched the hull. In the Combat Information Center, nobody spoke for 4 seconds. Then Mercer picked up the circuit to Webb's position. "Lieutenant Webb, walk me through the signature difference." Webb looked at her passive sensor display. At the 0.3% thermal anomaly she had identified at 9:14 and 51 seconds. At the 2 reports nobody had acted on. At the data she had transmitted to Cole at 9:25 while the last interceptors were firing at decoys. 0.3% difference in exhaust plume chemistry, sir. Heavier propellant load, consistent with a 1,500-kilogram payload. I noticed it at 51 seconds into the engagement. Mercer was quiet for 3 seconds. Then why didn't anyone act on your reports? Webb did not answer that question. It was not her place to answer it. She looked at her display instead and gave him something more useful. "Sir, the launch positions of all 8 contacts are fixed to within 18 meters. The Hawkeye has had them since 9:14. I recommend immediate strike authorization on all 3 launcher positions." Mercer authorized the strike at 9:29. 6 BGM 109. Tomahawk cruise missiles launched from the Gerald Ford's vertical launch cells at 9:30. 2 per launcher position. 3 positions. All 3 fixed by 15 minutes of continuous Hawkeye passive collection during the engagement. The first Tomahawk impacted at 10:17. The second and third 8 seconds apart. The fourth, fifth, and sixth found their targets within the following 22 seconds. 3 launcher positions, 6 missiles, 30 seconds. All 3 ceased to exist between 10:17 and 10:47. But the response did not end with the launchers. The thermal signature data Webb had collected, the specific propellant mixture difference between Iran's decoy missiles and its real warhead missiles, was transmitted to every E-2D Hawkeye and EA-18G Growler in theater at 9:32. From that moment forward, every Iranian missile salvo could be analyzed for the same signature before the first interceptor fired. The Aegis system would know which contact was real before it pulled the trigger. Iran's decoy program, years in development, designed to make every salvo impossible to prioritize, was compromised in one engagement, permanently, by a junior officer's passive infrared sensor reading that 2 people above her had told to stand by. In the electronic warfare suite, Webb wrote her engagement log in 2 sentences. Iran fired 8 missiles and hid 1 real warhead among 7 identical fakes. We found it because the propellant weighed more. Iran fired 8 missiles at the USS Gerald Ford that morning. 7 of them were questions. 1 of them was a 1,500-kilogram answer. The Aegis system fired every interceptor it had trying to find the right contact, and ran out before it found it. The Gerald Ford survived because a lieutenant noticed a 0.3% difference in an exhaust plume at 51 seconds into the engagement and kept watching contact 6 for 14 minutes while 2 people above her had bigger priorities. America's response did not just destroy the launchers. It burned Iran's decoy program to the ground. And the lesson Iran took home from the Arabian Sea that morning was the one it least wanted to learn. The most dangerous sensor on the most powerful carrier in the world was not the Spy-6 radar array tracking 8 contacts simultaneously. It was the junior officer watching the one that burned slightly different